Yeah, I don't have the patience for it, dude. Here's my thing. I don't want to argue with someone that clearly doesn't read the Bible. 75% or 85% of Christians who are heavily convicted about their faith, who don't read the Bible, will argue with you about things even though they don't read the Bible. And it's like, you understand what that's like, Greg? That's like somebody who watched a YouTube video on computer programming, arguing with an engineer that holds 3 degrees in that field on software application, computer programming, and engineering, and he knows just enough to feel convicted about his beliefs, but doesn't have a fucking clue what he's talking about. Most Christians don't understand that what began through Adam, God had to redo through Abraham. That God disinherited the nations, and he said, I'm going to build a nation out of Abraham. I'm going to reattempt what I initially attempted through Adam in the garden, through Abraham, so he had to start over. In doing so, because man was in a fallen state, he had to bring in this thing known as the Mosaic Law, because man was in a state of sin at that time. So he had to reintroduce a plan that would later build up to Jesus Christ being the ultimate sacrifice that would pay and justify us at the cross for everything that went sideways because of our rebellion through Adam. The law itself was exclusively given to the nation that God set aside through Abraham. It was never intended, let me say that again, the law was never given to the Gentiles. Not a single person was the law ever meant for that was not a Jew. If I were a Jew today, the law wouldn't be meant for me either, because Christ crucified the law to the cross on Calvary. He fulfilled the law. So even as a Jew right now, this side of the cross, the law does not apply to me. What Christ accomplished on the cross applies to both Gentile and Jew now. People who will argue with you, who don't even read the Bible, these are the last kinds of people I believe God wants us to waste time on. If you're genuinely seeking and you have questions and you have covenant confusion, you're going to start asking those questions. Look, I'm confused because over here Christ was saying this. And then over here in the old covenant, he was saying that I had to obey the law. I had to do these things. What's going on here? Now we can have a conversation. You know why? You've done some research. So this is my point of contention with it. And in this aspect, this is where I'm not going to put forth any energy. Why? If I were to upload a podcast about this, I might upload a podcast or a video, but I'm not going to spend my time arguing with people that are super convicted about their beliefs when they don't even put in the effort to read the Bible. Is an engineer going to argue with a 5-year-old about how to build a house? And seriously continue to argue or pretend he owes it to that 5-year-old? No. The 5-year-old doesn't have the capacity to build a house. A grown-ass man might have the capacity to read the Bible. But when you're proving to me you're my age, you clearly do not read the Bible, all you do is occasionally watch Joel Osteen, or you go to church every other week. Going to church doesn't mean anything to me. Most churches teach crap. Most churches will mingle old covenant law, legalism, with new covenant grace. And that's why I don't go to church. I'm just being honest with you. So I'm not impressed by someone that says they know and love God, but they won't read their Bible. I mean, it is in the first 5 books of the Bible. It is in the first 5 books, the Torah. It's obvious when you read the first 5 books in the Bible that the law was never given to anyone other than the Jews. And people can't even see that. And they go to church. Wow, you go to church, you dress up, you put on some shiny shoes, and you put on a suit. You don't even understand the Torah. Well, I was told not to read the Torah. I was told only to read the New Testament. Well, you need to go read the entire book of the Bible because you have no idea where we came from. You're trying to apply old covenant crap to something that Christ already fulfilled. Oh, God, I don't have patience for it. I just can't shut up. Probably a better analogy would be like if you were reading a book on how to build a home, and at one stage of the process, when you framed it all in and you got some things in, you see where the ground crew, they tarped the roof because there was a certain phase of the project where they couldn't allow the water to get inside the house while they finished something. I know that this is never how you would build a house because you would always build a roof before you would do anything that needed to, you wouldn't tarp something and then build something on the inside. But to my point, they build a tarp. They put a temporary tarp on the roof to keep the inside of the house dry. And then later when they go and they put the roof on, they tear the tarp off. Well, the tarp was just a temporary means to an end. It was just applied to keep something inside the house from rain. And once they got the roof on, the tarp was never needed. This is like what people do. They read bits and pieces of the Bible, and unfortunately you see it in churches. And they're telling people who have completely constructed a house, hey, you need to get a tarp and put the tarp on. Why? Because it's right here. You see right here where they put the tarp on? As a matter of fact, you need to tear the shingles off and tear the roof off and just use this tarp. It says it right here. It's in the Bible. Look, it's right here. It's in this. Look, an engineer wrote this book. Oh, my God. I can't help it. So when someone comes to me, and I'm an engineer, okay? I'm a structural engineer, and they're telling me, hey, look, we got to put the tarp on the house now. It's like, well, no, I just put the roof on. Is it more likely that I'm going to assume that I need to go back and reassess my civil engineering degree? Or is it more likely that they never got a degree? They never actually read the book. They're just telling me because they heard on a YouTube video somewhere that in bits and pieces they ran across information, probably parroted by someone else that didn't understand civil engineering, who's taking things out of context, that they need to put the tarp on the roof. So for me, the second I'm having a conversation with someone that's a layman, and in this analogy I'm speaking on, the second they bring up the tarp and how the tarp needs to be on the roof, I already know they don't have a degree. I already know they didn't read the book from cover to cover because they don't even understand that was just a single phase in the process. And they're dead ass serious looking at me. Grown ass man. He's telling me, hey, we got to take all the shingles off. We got to take the roof off. Put this tarp on, bro. That's on page 525 of the compendium. And I'm supposed to have a fucking rational argument with this person? It's like, you clearly didn't do any real reading. Someone just like you got convicted and made a YouTube video or a TikTok and you watched it. And they're trying to tell you that when you're constructing a house, you need to put the tarp on because they read on page 582 somewhere that information leaked out, but it wasn't in full context of the entire mosaic from start to finish. It was just a phase. It was a temporary application along the way, a phase to protect the inside of the house. And you're telling me that this is part of the temporary fortification and structure. I mean, I don't have the patience for you. Go away.